Hi, welcome to my vlog on the journey of the heroic parent. My name is Dr. Brad Reedy. I'm co-founder of Evoke Therapy Programs and also our clinical director. The first thing that I want to talk about is the idea of where the book came from. For years now, I've been broadcasting webinars and teaching families, and people have asked me, you should write this stuff down, you should write a book. My first thought and reaction was, well, I'm too lazy to do that. But then as I started getting the requests and they mounted up over the years, I realized there would be some value in writing some of this stuff down. But I thought to myself, what do I have to write about that's unique or new? There's plenty of parenting books out there. And as I thought about that, I thought about two things. The first thing I realized that I had that was unique was I had my story. And I also had the stories of the hundreds and thousands of families that I'd worked with over the years. And the second thing that I thought of is really what I try to do to help parents is not tell them what they should do, not be the expert in their lives in terms of the direction that they should take or the choices that they should make. But really my expertise is in teaching families and parents how to think so that they can discover their own truth. Part of the idea for me is to provide parents with an enduring source of truth, which is themselves, and not to become the expert in their lives. And in terms of the right question, a lot of times parents ask us what to do as therapists. And it's really important, critical in fact, that we change the question, that we answer the correct question. The question I discovered from my own journey is not the question. The question really is, who am I? And in the case of a parent, the second question is, who is my child? To the extent that I answer the first question, who am I have the capacity, the potential to answer the second question, which is, who is my child? And then the third question becomes, what is my relationship to my child's problems? And so this book really takes parents on a journey to address those three questions in the context of the question that they have about parenting. And it draws upon my experience, like I said, from my own story and also from the stories of the families, the heroic families that I've worked with over the years. It does, of course, talk about skills, but it's important for me to teach parents this principle about parenting skills. Parenting skills and tools are not for changing children, but rather for changing parents, the book says. And that change can have a profoundly positive impact on other family members. And I think a lot of us think of parenting classes, parenting skills, as gaining some knowledge that will help us to change our children. And we have to shift that focus. As I say in the book, the heroic journey, no matter what the story is, the heroic journey is always inward. Always looks deep inside of us. Let's use behavioral tools as an example when I talk about behavioral tools in the book. Here's a quote from the book. Using behavioral tools is fine, but only if they are nested in love and awareness. And we would be wise to first listen to what the behavior is telling us before we embark on trying to change it. Sometimes we listen to what they're not able to say and provide them comfort. To do this, we follow the trail of crumbs back home to find the child. And there, we offer them company and warmth, and they heal themselves. So if we just talk about behavioral tools as trying to manage somebody else's behavior, we'll miss a great deal of wisdom that behavior could be offering to us if we pay attention. Similarly with communication skills, which is also another chapter in the book and a necessary part of parent education. But it also needs to be nested in something else, in an awareness of why. The book talks so much about, it's not the what we decide, but the why we decide that's most important. So in communication chapter, I say this. We tell our children how we feel so we can be present with them and more intentional in our response to them. When we use healthy communication skills built upon a foundation of deeper principles and understanding, we create a safe place for our children and beckon them out of self-medicating symptoms and into genuine feeling. Communication skills become the tools for unpacking the pain beneath the symptoms. And maybe what's most important, I go on to say, is that you can't fake it. Because it's how we think about our children that will determine how they think about themselves, not what we say to them. So the book looks at all of the things that we typically talk about in parenting education courses at a deeper level, at a layer beneath behavior and the content of our discussions. And here's a piece where I talk about enmeshment and codependency. Over-identifications, because a lot of parents will talk about this idea of being close to their children, and they'll talk about loving them too much. But really what they're describing is over-identification. Over-identification is the most severe form of poor detachment. Over-identification does not see the child as an other, but rather sees the child as an extension or reflection of the parent. In such a relationship dynamic, there's only one person present, the parent. The child is altogether missing in the parent's mind. Other chapters talk about the distinction between control versus influence, talk about the myth of being right that I think we often fall into, not just in our parenting relationships, but in our relationships with others. Because in our own childhood, we weren't just allowed to feel and think what we felt and think. It had to be right, and it could be proved wrong. And then, of course, it's really important toward the end of the book that I talk about where the hope lies, right? In all of this self-reflection and inner searching, where's the hope toward a better life for us and for our children? And here's where the hope lies. It lies in our radical acceptance of what is. It lies in what some people would call faith, that life hasn't abandoned us, that we're not off course, that we can just practice and try this just for a moment a day to assume that you're right where you need to be, doing right what you're supposed to be doing. When our children are going through painful symptoms and challenges in their life, it's difficult. We suffer with them. And it's difficult to take a step back and realize that there's great wisdom being offered by this lesson. In the book, I suggest if we fail to embrace, no matter how painful or scary the journey of parenting a struggling child, we will also miss the treasure that journey has to offer. For me, parenting struggling children offers many gifts, including increased compassion for others who suffer, clarity in recognizing our boundaries, and improved self-care. Let's take it to the title of the book. Originally, the working title of the book, when I had it in a Word document, was Parenting Difficult Children. I knew that would not be the title. But as I started to consider the title, I knew how diametrically inappropriate that title was. Because for me, the difficulty in parenting children is in us, right? It's in our lack of bandwidth, if you will. And we need to do what we need to do to increase that bandwidth, to provide the ideal level of attachment and safety for our children, even those who are struggling with things like addiction and mental health issues. Joseph Campbell, a great American philosopher, was passionate about looking at all the world's myths, religions, stories, great epic lessons. And what he decided or discovered was that there was one core pattern in all of these myths, and he called that pattern the hero's journey. And he described how in all these great stories, all these great myths, that the hero would be taken out of his or her comfortable place, his or her day-to-day life, oftentimes pushed or shoved into that place by some sort of crisis, some sort of pain. Then they would go on this journey to discover the healing balm, right? The solution, the Holy Grail. And during that journey, during that exploration, that quest to get something that they couldn't live without, they were transformed. And this transformation was the gift, right? It's this idea that we go out there to try to find the solution, and we discover that the solution has been in us all along, buried beneath our shame, our fear, our anxieties. And then the final stage for the hero, after battling dragons and going through this incredible journey, is to come back and to share that story with others. And so I thought the title of The Journey of the Heroic Parent was perfect to describe what I've seen parents do. They go after, they can't not go after trying to save their child. And in the process, if they do it well, they themselves are transformed. And it changes not just their relationship with their child, but their relationship in all of their relationships, in their entire life. And here's how I end the book. So what does the hero find? On his journey, he finds the elixir of healing wisdom, something that he can share with others. We experience deep pain and develop compassion as we face the depths of our own struggles. And what we find is our story. We sit in groups, tell our stories, and listen to the stories of others. That is the message of this book. That is what I meant when I started with the concept that the question is not the question. It is our struggling children and our willingness to ask different questions that reveal our authentic selves. The hero brings back herself, a deeper, richer version of herself. Loving your child is something you cannot not do. You will break and bleed. Old things will die in you, and in their stead, new ones will grow. And what you will have in the end is your story. For me, even as a teacher, the elixir isn't always in the form of words. Some of what I have gleaned on my journey is difficult to put into words. That is because it is an experience rather than an explanation. You learn something by going through it that you cannot know any other way. My education and study have given me language, but being present on my painful and beautiful journey has carved out a place for more compassion towards others and myself. I am honored to sit and offer some observation from the thousands of heroes' journeys I have seen struggling children and parents traverse. This is my story. This is my gift. This is also the gift that remarkable, wonderful, struggling children and parents have given me, and I in turn give it back to you. I hope you enjoy the journey of the heroic parent. Thank you.